All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Yumlish Live Facebook event that we're doing with TCU today. Say hi, y'all.
Hi.
Hi.
So we're doing a very special event today, and we're cooking you up some chicken tostadas that is coming right up. I want to give a brief intro. So we're Yumlish. We provide culturally relevant nutrition therapy for diabetes management. And we're partnering today with TCU, the dietetic students over in the nutrition program, to cook you up some chicken tostadas. So y'all, from here, I'm going to hand it off to you. Take it away. Tell us what you've got going on there.
Yeah, so this evening we'll be showing you all how to eat the rainbow by making your own tostadas. These tostadas are full of color and flavor. And so you might be wondering, what does it even mean to eat the rainbow? It just means to incorporate a bunch of different fruits and vegetables to your diet. Fruits and vegetables have small compounds called phytonutrients, and these small compounds are found in the pigments and they have health benefits. So, for example, carrots are orange and they have an orange pigment, and they help with our eyesight. And with diabetes, you may be worried about your blood pressure and your heart. So in grapes, there's a phytonutrient in them that helps with your blood pressure and with your heart as well. So throughout the entire demo, we'll be pointing out the different phytonutrients so you can eat the rainbow.
And so I'll introduce the recipe to you guys, but first I guess we can introduce ourselves. So my name is Alex.
My name is Lauren.
And I'm Jane.
Yeah, and so we're really excited to cook with y'all tonight. So like we've been saying, we're making chicken tostadas, and then we're gonna have a nice bright and colorful avocado and tomato salsa on the side as well. And so I guess we can go ahead and just kind of point out the ingredients that we've got going on here. So.
Okay. And so while you pull those ingredients out and go through it real quick, just want to let everyone know who's joining us live, keep your questions coming. So if you've got questions about what we're cooking, why we're cooking it, what is so delicious and tasty about this recipe that these students have whipped up here today for you, drop it in the comments box. Drop your questions in the comments box. Let us know what you think about the recipe. Let us know what you think about this collaboration that we're doing for the very first time. So we're super, super excited. Definitely let us know. So drop your comments in, and what we're going to do is, as we get those comments and questions in from our viewers today, I'm just going to go ahead and throw those questions out to y'all as we're going along. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Yep.
All right, y'all. So what do we have in front of us there?
Okay, so here I've got some just shredded chicken. We went ahead and boiled it ahead of time just for the sake of our demo. But if you're cooking along with us at home, it takes only about 15 to 20 minutes to boil. We've got about a half pound of chicken here. And we decided to use chicken breast today. So chicken breast is a lean cut of protein, which means there's going to be less of the saturated fat that usually is associated with some of increased risk for heart disease. So we want to try to limit saturated fat. It's definitely not something to avoid completely, but choosing leaner proteins like chicken, and in particular the chicken breast, can help benefit our heart health. You can also use chicken thighs if you'd like. Those will help you save a little bit on the cost. Chicken thighs tend to be cheaper, but if you can go for the chicken breast, I highly recommend it. It was really easy to cook up, and we've just shredded it. And then another thing we've got is the tostada shells. So we bought a few, just a package of pre-made tostada shells, but then I also thought I would make a few just like homemade. So in this bowl, I've got just some nice corn tortillas. I drizzled some olive oil over them and a little bit of salt and baked them for about 10 minutes total. Flip them halfway, and so they're nice and crispy. And so that's another great way if you're maybe trying to cut down on your salt intake a little bit. A lot of times these packaged foods have high salt amounts, and so by making your own, you can control how much salt is in your food. And so I went ahead and made some tostada shells for that. And then the last ingredient I wanted to talk about is the beans. So beans are a very important ingredient in this dish. We've just got some canned black beans here in our bowl that we'll be using later. And so when we're shopping for canned beans, we like to try to get the ones that are low sodium or say no salt added, because a lot of times the companies, the manufacturers will produce cans of black beans with a lot of salt in there because that's a preservative. But really, the beans still stay fresh and tasty when they're packaged without salt. And so we try to get the low sodium versions if you're wanting to cut down on your salt intake. Again, that'll help you with if you're concerned about high blood pressure. So we actually, ironically, weren't able to find low sodium beans at the store just because of the winter storm and everything that happened last week. So we did get just regular canned black beans, which is totally fine. But a tip to help you out is if you rinse the beans, so like take a strainer, colander, and just rinse them off, that'll help get rid of some of that excess salt as well. And then another thing you could do if you have a little more time on your hands, we bought just dried black beans, and you can get these. They're super cheap. This one was like $1.50 for a pound of black beans. And so as long as you have the time to kind of soak them overnight and then boil them for a couple hours, that can be another great option where, again, since you're cooking it from scratch, you have complete control over how much salt goes into that, and might help save you a little money as well. So let's see, I've got those ingredients going, and I think I'm going to hand it over to Lauren. She's going to show you how to make the salsa.
So I am going to be making the avocado salsa. So the star of the show is the trusty avocado. So when you're looking for avocados at the store, you want them to give a little when you squeeze them. You don't want them to be too mushy or too hard. But if you go to the grocery store and all they have are hard avocados, what you can do is place them in a brown paper bag and then take them out a few days later, and they should be perfectly ripe. And on the other hand, if you go to the store and they're overly ripe, what you can do is put them in the refrigerator. The refrigerator halts the ripening process, and so you can just take one out at a time when you're ready to use them. Avocados are high in fiber. I'm just going to start chopping. Avocados are really high in fiber. One avocado has about 10 grams of fiber, and you should aim for about 25 to 35 grams of fiber per day. And so with diabetes, fiber is important because it helps stabilize your blood sugar levels. Avocados are also high in monounsaturated fats, so it elevates your good cholesterol while lowering your bad cholesterol. And so blood pressure is especially important because they are related. And so you just want to make sure that your blood pressure is in check by keeping your cholesterol levels in check. So yeah. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the avocado in the salsa mixture.
And I love that. So I have a question for you on that. I'm wondering, when you cut the avocado, I was seeing you cut that right there. You went straight lines going one direction. Did you do like the other direction as well? So are we looking at cubes? We're looking at slices. How is that looking?
Yeah, we're looking at dices.
Okay.
So we want to see the color and the texture as well, just like bigger chunks. We didn't want to like cut it too small or have it too big, but that we can put it on the tostada.
Oh, that looks good. That looks very colorful. As you're adding stuff, especially when you start mixing stuff in there, I'd love for you to tilt the bowl so we can see more of what's inside there. That's looking good from here so far.
So now I'm going to move on to cutting the tomato. The tomato has a phytonutrient in it that helps with your that helps decrease your cancer risk. So I'm just gonna dice it up just like I diced the avocado. Tomatoes also they have a high water content, so it's great for hydration. And as I'm cutting, I'm making sure that I'm curling my nails underneath so that I don't cut myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I'm just going to cut the other half as well.
Okay. So do you know the benefits of tomatoes? Like I hear that they're acidic, right? So do you know what are some of the benefits of tomato? And of course they taste great too, but.
Yeah, I know that the acidity helps combat the saltiness. So if you're trying to reduce your sodium, you can go ahead and add some acid to your food and it'll mimic the taste of the salt.
Oh, interesting.
I'm just gonna add it in the bowl. Okay. Alice is gonna come help me mix. Then I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting the onion. So I'm gonna start cutting laterally like this.
We've already got some nice bright red and green colors in our salsa going, and it's just gonna keep getting better. So I'm excited.
Nice.
We're using red onion because of its beautiful color. It helps with your heart as well as your cancerous as well.
Okay, y'all. So what is that difference between like a yellow onion, a white onion, a red onion? What are we talking about here? Is it a flavor difference, or is it just the color in the food? Is that what it is?
Yeah. There's different pigments or phytonutrients, as they're called in the nutrition world. So they're going to have different kind of benefits for your health. But yeah, so like the purple onion obviously has different pigments than a yellow onion, and that they also do have a different flavor. I'd say from my experience, it seems like the red onion is usually the strongest and almost a little spicy. And then the red onions, not that. Yellow onions are usually like sweeter, and so I like to use those like when I'm making pasta sauces or something else that is, you want something like sweeten it up. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we have a question from Patty, and she's asking: are red onions do red onions have more nutrients? I guess just overall.
Okay. Yeah. I wouldn't say they have more nutrients. It just might be a different nutrient profile. Because of the different colors. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. And when you stir that up, if you can just tilt the bowl so we can see more of what's inside. So.
Yeah, let's get this all mixed up. All right.
So I just added the purple onion in there, and it's already looking pretty vibrant, as you can see. Next, I'm gonna add the cilantro. So some people do not like cilantro. You can add it if you want, but some people say that it has a soapy flavor to it, and that's just due to genetics. So I'm just gonna add it in. And then we have a spice, cumin right here. Cumin is common in Mexican cuisine. It's full of flavor. And it also helps you reduce the amount of salt that you put in your foods. And we have chili powder. So chili powder would just give it its kick and also contribute to you not adding as much salt to your food. And then we're just gonna add a little bit of salt. It's just not much at all. I'm gonna add that in there.
All the spices smell really good right now.
They do. I wish you guys were here.
So I got a question from Sue, and Sue says, could you use green onions in a pinch?
You could use green onion in a pinch. I know the flavor profile is just different, as well as the shape of it is also different. So you could use it, but the flavor profile of the purple onion is just like gives it that good flavor, you know? So I'm just gonna mix everything in with the spices. And then while I'm at it, I'm also going to cut the lime that we're gonna top everything off with. The lime contributes to the acidic flavor, which can help you reduce your salt intake as well.
Yeah, while Lauren's doing that, something I totally forgot to mention while I was talking about the beans, they are such a power food. They have lots of fiber and protein as well. So that's one of the reasons we wanted to incorporate them into our dish today, because beans are a great plant-based protein. So like I was saying, the chicken, it's a lean protein, but it still has that saturated fat in it, which is not necessarily the best for your heart. Whereas plant-based proteins typically have more unsaturated fats, and those are really great for your heart. And so by using beans in this recipe, we can get that protein in there, and then that allows us to use maybe a little bit less chicken. And so we could try to go more plant-based, which is great. And then on top of that, there's a bunch of fiber in these beans, just like the avocado as well. And so that'll benefit your gut as well as your blood pressure. It can help lower your blood pressure over time, as long as you're getting your daily fiber in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right.
So now Jane is going to come and assemble everything for us.
All right, so before I get started talking about how we're going to assemble, I want to talk a little bit about how important it is with diabetes and balancing our blood sugar. So one of the key things whenever you're managing diabetes is making sure that you're keeping your blood sugar levels at optimal levels and they're not spiking too high or too low. Because when we have them go up or down too quickly, that can lead to a lot of poor side effects. So that's something we really want to monitor. And one of the ways we can do that is through food, and that's combining carbohydrates, fats, and protein in every meal or snack that we consume. And that will just help make sure that our bodies it's releasing the blood sugar at like a slower rate, and then we don't get those spikes up or down. So the way that we're going to do that is by, like in this meal, we do have all the 3 different components. And we have the carbohydrates we're getting from the tostadas, and then our vegetables. And so carbohydrates will give our bodies quick energy, but we don't necessarily want that on its own because that's what leads to our blood sugar spikes. So that's why we want to combine the protein, which also keeps us full a little bit longer. And the way our body digests it is that we're going to get energy from it later than we would carbohydrates. So that makes sure that we're energized for more than just like 15 minutes after we eat. And then we're going to add our fat, which will also keep us full longer. And then it slows everything down with our digestion. That's what keeps us full longer. It's just the longer our body takes to digest food. And so our fat slows everything down. So when we combine them all, think of it as all coming together in our stomach. And it's one little thing getting digested at a time. And our bodies can't just take all that carbohydrate at once and get all the sugar from it right away. So that's why we want to have all 3. So we have the carbohydrates from our veggies, like our lettuce, and then our tostadas, and then our protein, we're getting that from our chicken, but then also, like Alex was saying, is our beans. Beans are awesome. Really, really great. And then we are also getting our fat from our avocado, and we're getting monounsaturated fat, so very healthy, and that's what's going to keep us full longer. And we've got all 3 different components in this meal, and we also have a lot of color. So eating healthy doesn't have to be boring. It doesn't have to be all green. It doesn't have to be all red. Everyone always says eat your greens, but you need to eat everything else too. So that's why with our meal, we're getting different flavors and different nutrients from everything. Like we saw with the salsa, it is full of color. And even the chicken, the beans, the lettuce, it's all adding different colors. And that's just kind of makes it more fun to eat as well. So next I'm going to assemble. So I'm going to take our tostadas. I'm just going to use the ones that we got from the store.
So while you assemble that, I've got a question, and keep going. So we've got a question that says, how much fiber are we getting from this recipe? Kelly's asking.
I believe about 8 grams.
Okay. Great, thank you.
So I put the tostada shell on the tray, and next I'm going to add some of our chicken. Put that at the bottom, and you can honestly layer at whatever you like. Do different things first. This is just how I'm going to do it, but definitely up to whatever interpretation you'd like. Next, I'm going to add a big spoonful of the beans. Maybe a little more. Kind of make sure it's all spread around and even. And then I'm going to add the lettuce. Just get a little pinch. Sprinkle that all over. The lettuce adds a really good crunch, which we're also getting from the tostada shell, but it's a little bit more of like a watery, flavorful crunch, I'd like to think of. And then next, the last thing we're going to add is this beautiful tomato avocado salsa. So So I'm gonna put that right on top. Gosh, it's so colorful and beautiful. I just want to dig into it right away. So get lots of those veggies in there. And then lastly, we're just gonna take a lime, put that on top. Adds a really great flavor on the top. And so something that's really awesome about tostadas like this is that you can change whatever you're adding to it to meet your flavor profile that you want. Like personally, I don't really like cilantro like Lauren was saying. I have the gene that makes it so it tastes soapy. So in my salsa, I probably wouldn't add cilantro. Or if there's other spices that you like to add, maybe like paprika or a different assortment, you can change up your salsa. Some people don't like avocados. You could mix the avocados. Using like just beans or just chicken, or even buying like a salsa from the store. That's another really great way that you can still get all your like veggies and a good rainbow, but still making it colorful and just making it with whatever you want. It doesn't have to be cut and dry this way. That's one of the best things about cooking is you get to make it however you want and add some different varieties. And so if you can see, I'm going to try to tilt it so you can see our beautiful tostada. If anyone is at home and made it alongside with us, we'd love if you took photos and tagged Yumlish in it. So we'd love to see your creations and see what y'all made. But ours looks beautiful. I'm so excited to try it later.
That is looking really good, y'all. Is it possible to ask one of y'all to bring the plate around and like closer to the camera so we can see the final product?
Sure. Yeah, Lauren will come bring it up. And so as our big theme of today was just eating the rainbow, clearly you can tell that eating the rainbow, one, isn't boring. It's so bright, colorful, and we're getting different flavors from each of the colors. We're getting some acidity from like the limes, and the tomatoes have acid, but then they also have a little bit of sweetness. Each flavor that we're getting is from a different color, which is really awesome. Then our meal is less boring, and we're kind of getting a little bit extra in like a small little dish. So that's really awesome. But other than that, that's kind of all the eating the rainbow kind of stuff. You just want to make sure that, you know, you add the variety, add the rainbow. It doesn't have to be boring. Like, take what you can get. But in our diets, we want to make sure that we can incorporate as many colors into our daily intake because, like they've said before, we're getting different health benefits from each of those colors. So it'd be awesome if you can keep adding them in. And then another thing that we talked about today was, like when Lauren was adding the spices, is how using spices can replace the amount of salt we use in our diet. And like we're saying, that leads to a lot of, it's just harder on our heart the more salt that we have because our body keeps in more water. Mm-hmm. And then that's what leads to heart damage and hypertension and high blood pressure. So one thing we used was the cumin and then the chili powder. And so by doing that, we got a bigger flavor profile, but then we were able to use less salt, which is awesome. And actually using herbs and spices is really popular in the nutrition field right now because, believe it or not, we get more antioxidants from herbs and spices than we would a superfood that is kind of a big buzzword right now. Everyone loves to talk about superfoods, but an easy way to get that, like all those benefits from those is just by eating more foods with herbs and spices. And they're all ones that are pretty easy to have in your pantry and use whatever's on hand. You kind of figure out which ones you like as you go. But that's about it. If y'all have any questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah, so I'm gonna make one more call for questions. So if you have a question right now, as we approach sort of the end of this event, we've got our chicken tostada going over there, very, very enticing, sitting right there at the edge of the table. And so if you have any questions about the chicken tostada, how it was made, if you missed any part of the recipe, or if you want to know sort of why this is healthy, what makes it healthy, throw your questions in there. If you're making chicken tostada along with us, definitely like the students were just saying, take a picture, tag Yumlish on that picture. Let us know that you're cooking along with us. We love to see people cooking along with us and making, giving their own take on what they're doing differently. So we love looking at that. With that, I do want to ask y'all, so while we wait for the last couple of questions to come in here, I do want to ask y'all a couple of things. So when you were making the chicken tostada, now, when we talk about chicken tostada, generally, sometimes it's not made as healthy, right? So I want to quickly recap some of the things, the modifications that you made, and then why this recipe is affordable and what this the cost of this recipe came in at. So I'd love to know that. And then I'd also like to know, what are the small changes that you made that made this recipe healthier?
I can talk about the chicken. So like we boiled the chicken on the stove as opposed to buying it already pre-made with high fat, high sodium. So we boiled it on the stove with no salt added to the water. And then we just raked it with the fork. And the only salt we added was that little thing of salt that I showed you guys before.
Mm-hmm. Okay, love it. So the salt, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I guess something else we did, a lot of times tostadas, some of the unhealthier versions have a bunch of like sour cream and cheese and kind of higher fat toppings. And so by making this fresh salsa with just spices and vegetables and some herbs, it's a great way to cut down on some calories, cut down on the fat, but still bring just as much flavor. And I think it tastes better personally than when it's doused in cheese and sour cream. So
no biases right there, of course.
no.
I love it. That's awesome. So not so many questions came in, but we got a bunch of compliments for y'all. So Patty says, thank you, ladies. Well done. Sue says, enjoyed it. Sabrina says, nice job. So great job, y'all. Thank y'all so much for doing this collaboration with Yumlish. Truly, truly appreciate it. For everyone out there, thank y'all so much for joining us. We are going to be doing this again next week. So mark your calendars. We'll see you at the same time next week doing another cooking demonstration with the talented TCU students here. Thank y'all again for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for watching.
Bye.